Pauline Hanson in Queensland. Pauline, I'm struck, of course, by the name you gave to your party, One Nation. We're not looking like One Nation just at the moment.
Definitely not. I think what's going on now is a load of BS, and the premiers, the way they're carrying on, is absolutely ridiculous. Chris, my figures that I've been given is 900 people died last year from the flu. We've had over 100 deaths because of coronavirus. Do you know that if you actually have a car accident, you die in that car accident, you've been tested for coronavirus, you're actually listed as dying from coronavirus? A lot of these deaths that have occurred in Australia and worldwide is not because of coronavirus. They've died from other causes, but because you're infected with coronavirus, they're listing it as death by coronavirus. So I don't know what the hell is going on here, but I've had a gutful of it. And we need to actually understand the devastation this is doing to our nation. As long as the state government, as long as the federal government keeps paying out for JobKeeper and JobSeeker, the state premiers will keep feeding off that because they don't need to open up the borders to allow people to get jobs or go back to their jobs because the federal government is paying their wages.
Well, I think you're right. If South Australia, Western Australia, they've got no coronavirus cases, they've got their borders closed, so then why should they get JobKeeper? I mean, it is a nonsense. I mean, as you say, look, it is a very dangerous disease for the vulnerable, especially the elderly, but 99% of infections are mild.
Then go and lock themselves away, all right? Go and lock them. They've got to lock themselves away, not the rest of the nation and destroying our economy. I'm sorry, I'm over this. This is ridiculous that we have done this. Taiwan actually have actually said to the vulnerable, you go and lock yourselves away. Their economy is travelling quite well. They haven't had as many deaths as what we have. It is getting to the point where people are playing on this because they're sitting at home, they're getting paid the JobKeeper, JobSeeker, whatever, all the other benefits that go with this. So why do I have to go to work? I'm actually making more now than if I had to go to work. So it's got to a ridiculous stage where the federal government has to say enough is enough.
18 cases today in the whole of Australia. 18 million people, 18 cases, 17 in Victoria, and 99% of cases are mild, yet we're continuing to shut down the country and have borders blocked. It is silly. We should be doing more to protect the vulnerable and opening our economy up. Just another issue I wanted to get you on, Pauline, when it comes to economic development is the change of heart, I suppose, from the Minerals Council. They're now saying that they're supporting the Paris Agreement and they're going to support climate action. But a big part of that is supporting nuclear energy for this country. Are we finally going to see some action on this front sometime?
Well, I hope so, because I fully support it. We need to go nuclear because I think we need a diversity of power supply in Australia. So whether it's nuclear, whether it's hydrogen, whether it's actually going to, solar panels and power, wind power, we can't supply the needs of Australia if we're going to drive industries and manufacturing just basically on solar and wind power. It won't happen. Right? So we need to have that mining in Australia. Now, I've got concerns. Why is the Mining Council coming on board with uranium? So it's got to be a moneymaker for them. That concerns me because it's all about mining. But I'm all for nuclear. Apparently, the UK are actually building a plant at the moment. It's going to take about 10 years. So it takes that amount of time to build it. We need nuclear power. I'd scrub the diesel electric submarines that we're building. I went on a sub for 2 days, 2 full days underwater. I have a better understanding about it. And I'm telling you, some of the captains that I spoke to and the personnel on these subs said, we are making a big mistake going for the Barracuda, built by the French, which is diesel electric. Big mistake. We should be doing half and half.
Well, the point is, of course, if we had our own nuclear industry and then we had nuclear subs, off-the-shelf American nuclear subs, they would be much cheaper, strategically much more effective, and, of course, deepen us with the alliance. Tony Abbott, interestingly enough, after he lost the prime ministership, started to talk about that option being one worthy of investigation.
Well, America won't sell you nuclear subs unless you can have the power for it in Australia, which we don't have. So it's up to the federal government to actually pave the way and and start putting nuclear in. Look, France has been running on nuclear for about 75 years. Their power is very cheap. It's emissions free, you know, so we don't have the emissions. So why people don't look at it, we need to start heading down that path. You know, they talk about the mining. Do you know that it takes about 280 tonnes of coal, which is the coking coal, to build a windmill? So, you know, they're talking about it. How much power needs to go into making solar panelling, which only lasts about 15 years, and half of its life, it's basically not a full production. It is ridiculous what we're heading down the path, and this is where the truth needs to come out. I'm not all for solar and wind power. We need to have, you know, a mix-up of power to supply our needs, but we've been fed a bloody furphy by a lot of these people pushing their own agenda, and these big companies pushing for renewables because they're getting billions of dollars paid by the government, which comes from the taxpayer, and then we pay more for our electricity. It's destroying our country.
Yeah, I mean, the holy grail is emissions-free, baseload, reliable power. Well, nuclear is it. It's been obvious for decades, yet so many on the Green left don't want to embrace it. There are, though, some climate activists, climate alarmists who see this. They recognise that nuclear is the way. Have you ever caught up with those people on the left, the environmental activists who want to embrace nuclear? There could be an interesting alliance there with people like yourself.
It would, wouldn't it? No, they haven't come knocking on my door. But, Chris, you've got to look at the logistics of everything, and you have to use common sense. And if you want to reduce emissions with carbon, well, then you've got to look at the alternative. We cannot run this country on just wind power and solar. It doesn't work. And your guest on last night was saying the surgence that we have through wind power, just outside Hughenden, North Queensland, all right? There's 12 wind power turbines. Do you know what? They're not even working because they haven't built the power station to actually take that surge of power. So they're sitting there. How much is being paid in government subsidies to these people that have built it?
Come on.
And we can't even put the power into the grid. It's ridiculous.
They're works of public art. They probably look beautiful, Pauline. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks, Chris. Cheers.